Greetings. Every morning when I come to IMC, I pass by IMC's redwood tree. There's one redwood tree here. And this part of California has redwood territory. Those of you who don't know, redwoods, they're massive, can be massive trees. The tallest, oldest tree, some of the oldest trees in California, and tallest. And the one on our property here, the base has a diameter of about 10 feet, over 3 meters. And these massive, mostly they grow straight up, very, very straight wood trees. And at the base of them, the trunk, far up, is really stable. It's firm and rooted and has very wide roots. It has shallow roots, and those roots go out very shallow. And together with the roots and the weight and the straightness of it, the bottom of the root of the tree is very, very stable and unmoving. And when you get up to the very top, you see it gently moving with the wind. Even with very strong storm winds, you see it gently moving back and forth, giving into the wind and coming back to center, and kind of giving in slightly and coming back, always going back to center. And I use this as an analogy for today's topic, which is equanimity, that it's possible to find within oneself a deep stability, a deep steadiness, that and rootedness that keeps us firm and upright, and allows us to kind of move gently with the winds of the world and the difficulty of the world. Of course, we're influenced by it, but the influence of it, we can kind of be moved by it and come back to center, because we have ballast. We're grounded in a place of stability and equanimity. And this stability gives us the equanimity that allows us to kind of be wise and not caught by all the different winds of the world as they come along. So that's why at the beginning of a meditation session, and for now, it's useful to give attention to your posture. And ideally you would find a posture that really is not just comfortable to sit in, but is a posture that provides stability. A physical stability. And classically that's sitting in the cross-legged position, and because it creates a very nice tripod, a firm, wide base upon which to support the torso. But it could be other postures as well. If you're sitting in a chair, it can be helpful to have your feet, both feet, soles of the feet, firmly on the ground, so that provides a kind of stableness, stability. And to feel perhaps your sitting bones, pelvic bones, on the chair or on your cushion. Feel how the weight of your body settles down into where the chair, the ground, your cushion receives your weight. And this is kind of the beginning of the process of arriving here, being present here, but doing so with evoking some degree of stability here. And then to feel your torso. And maybe there are small adjustments to make in your torso, so it too can feel a little more stable, steady, a little bit more grounded, where the weight of your torso settles downwards by relaxing and softening, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the chest, relaxing the belly. Because the more relaxed and grounded and more our weight is held low down, the more stable we are. The more tension we carry. The tension seems to be often be upward lifting and brings the weight up higher in the body in a sense. Makes us more brittle or more vulnerable to the winds of the world. And perhaps you can soften the muscles of your face. Softening around the eyes. And perhaps you can pay a little bit of attention to the back of your neck. Perhaps lifting up the back of your skull to make a little bit more space between the last vertebrae and the skull. And that sometimes pulls the head back a little bit and also tips the chin down. And perhaps gives the head a little more of a firmer, balanced place on the shoulders. And then without breathing more deeply than usual, just a normal breath. As you exhale, let go, release a little bit more at the end of the exhale. So the exhale gets extended a little bit. And in that extension, that release, a further settling, a further relaxing of the belly, a further settling of your weight, and then feeling whatever sense of solidity, stability there is in the body. And this sense of the being grounded and rooted here in the body is a process that can begin preventing the mind or thoughts to be pushed around by the winds of the world. We're more resilient. We're less likely to live in the world of thoughts and stories, predictions of the future, memories of the past. And if we do swirl around in our thoughts, it can be helpful to also settle the mind. Here it's the mind, maybe is more like the water, and the thoughts are the surface waves of the water. And to allow the surface to become calmer and stiller. Imagine that as you relax the mind, the surface spreads out in all directions and becomes flatter and flatter, stiller. Perhaps by relaxing any tension associated with thinking. And if we're disconnected from our bodies, It's all too easy to get swept away in the winds of our thoughts, the waves of our thinking. Partly because the mind gives a kind of priority to thinking. And the task of meditation is to give priority to the present moment. And often that is helpful to do so through the body. So you might become aware of your breathing. Not so much looking at the breath from the control tower, but to settle oneself, settle awareness into the experience of the body breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. And perhaps as you exhale, let yourself settle into some stability at the end of the exhale. The body settling. And as you inhale, if you're feeling the breathing in the torso, to feel the expansion, the firmness, the filling of the torso with air, as if you're feeling a solid, strong trunk of a tree, the trunk of your body. Feeling the strength, the stability here in this body. As you exhale, letting go of your thoughts and letting go into steady, stable rootedness in the body. And in this stability and rootedness of the body, not to make anything a problem. Don't make a problem of anything that happens in your mind. As soon as you make something a problem, you're caught by it. Perhaps just let it be the wind that blows by. Stay rooted in your body. Stay with your breathing. Let go of any concern or preoccupation with your thoughts. Let the thoughts just blow right by. to the degree to which there is stability, stable in the body, inner stability where we're less likely to be caught up in our thoughts and preoccupations. The absence of preoccupation can give room for the heart, can give room for our love and our kindness, our care. And one of the simple ways of talking about, pointing to a possibility of practice is the instruction. Be still and gaze upon everything kindly. Be still, softly still, quiet, and gaze upon everything kindly. Be still and gaze upon yourself kindly. Be still and gaze upon others kindly. Be softly still and gaze upon the whole world kindly. And as you do so, may it be that for this day, that you offer your support for all beings, all people who are working for justice for all. Offer your support for everyone who is working for the health of others, people in the front lines of COVID-19. May you offer your support to those who are in the front lines of justice, those who are in the front lines of Black Lives Matter. And may you offer your support to those who have different views of your own, those who are even opposed. Offer your support at least in terms of your willingness to gaze upon them kindly, as hard as that might be. May it be through our kind gaze, our stability, that we offer to stand in solidarity with all beings peacefully, lovingly. And may we bring forth the kindness, peacefulness, and call to justice that lives inside of all beings. Let us help others find it in themselves as well. May all beings be free. So greetings from Redwood City. Clear day, looks like. So this will be the last talk, the seventh talk of the 7 factors of awakening. And to say before I talk about the 7th factor, the factor of equanimity, a few more thoughts about these factors overall. The Buddha made a remarkable statement about these 7 factors, and that is that the continuity and the growth of the Dharma, I think he meant like the growth of Buddhism into the world, is dependent not on what people believe, but it's really dependent on people who cultivate these 7 factors of awakening. That is where the growth and development of the Dharma is in the qualities developed in people. And he also said that those who want to be involved with what's ultimate, some people really want, religion is kind of about what's ultimate, the ultimate truth, ultimate reality, ultimate something. And in Buddhism, kind of some ultimate states of awareness and enlightenment and these things. And in one statement, the Buddha says, if you want to be involved with what's ultimate, be involved with the 7 factors of awakening. And remarkably, these are not views, they're not tenets of belief, they're not doctrines. They're qualities that live inside of us that can be cultivated and developed. As I said the first day, this is the sap that runs through the tree of Buddhism. The Buddha said that if you have a tree in the forest, and there's other trees, different species of trees that are overgrowing it, then there's no light that allows the smaller tree to grow up and become strong. And he used that analogy for the hindrances, that if the hindrances are overgrowing the 7 factors of awakening, they can't grow, there's not enough light there. But if the hindrances are removed, then there's light that allows the tree of the 7 factors of awakening to grow and become strong and big. And so this idea that we're learning about how our inner life, the quality of our inner life, the state of our inner life, we're learning and studying it and paying attention to it enough that we can learn to put aside, not be involved in the hindrances, these things that are said to cover over, obscure, hinder the wisdom of the mind and the clarity of the mind. And then as we uncover, we remove the tree cover of these other trees that we want to grow, then there's these seedlings that are ready to grow and become strong. And these are the 7 factors of awakening. One of the things we're looking for, when things we can begin studying and become aware of as we practice mindfulness, we become aware of what are the things that enhance the hindrances, make them grow and develop, and what enhances and develops the 7 factors of awakening. We understand the conditions that lead to each. The ancient language is the food for each. And part of the many things are the food, but preoccupation with the hindrances is food for the hindrances to grow. Paying attention to the 7 factors of awakening, recognizing them, is the primary food for that to grow. And here the idea is that we have these in us already. These are not foreign ideas. These are not something that none of us have, but some of us have not learned to recognize that they're there. I've done the exercise of when I've woken up from a nice, refreshing nap, and I'm laying down, looking at the ceiling, feeling very content, pretty clear, woke up in a clear state of mind, and just kind of gone through and noticed the 7 factors of awakening that are there in the ordinary kind of waking up clearly and contentedly from a nap. You might do the exercise if you have something comparable to that. where you're just very content and happy and the mind is clear and alert and you have nothing you need to do, maybe sitting under a tree in a park in a time when all things are taken care of for you. And recognize these factors are already there for you. And then we want to enhance them, develop and then grow them. And one of the requirements for that is not to be caught up in our thoughts, our hates, our greeds, our desires, our emotions, not to be caught up in them. To let them be, to let us be this big redwood tree that can sway with the wind and not knocked over by the wind. And not be a tumbleweed that just blows across the desert because it's not rooted. So the seventh factor of awakening is equanimity. And equanimity has two primary aspects. One is stability, a sense of balance that can come even from physical stability. That if we have a real sense of being physically stable and strong, that sometimes can make us much more resilient in the challenges of life. If we're healthy and feel strong and have eaten well and maybe done some exercise, there can be a coursing through us of a certain kind of strength and stability that we're much more resilient to what people say to us or what goes on around us. If we're ill or tired or hungry or agitated in all kinds of ways, then the slightest little thing, it's just too much and we get pushed over and it's hard. And so there is a sense of equanimity that can come from being balanced and stable. And the example I gave now is physical stability. There's also stability in our emotional life, stability in the mind, in our inner life. And that comes from practice. As keep doing mindfulness, keep doing concentration practices, and there's a sense of stability with a calm, a sense of strength in the mindfulness, strength in the concentration, strength in being able to let go, strength in the application of practice, showing up and, just not, having confidence, a strength of confidence. There's a lot of strengths that get developed slowly over time with practice. And then we have this much more equanimous, meaning that we're not reactive. We don't get obsessed with things or reactive to things. We act, we respond, but it's not an automatic pilot. We're not kind of swirling around, pushed around, triggered so easily by everything that goes on around us. There's a stability. So we can gaze upon what's happening before the mind's reactivity takes over. Not an easy place to come to that place, but this is the direction of the practice, is to come to this place where to be still. Be still and gaze upon everything kindly. And the word gaze is a choiceful word because the word equanimity has in its etymology in Pali, upekkha, has the meaning of to gaze over, to look, have an overview of what's going on. And so the second meaning of equanimity in terms of our practice is the equanimity that comes from having wisdom, of having the overview of things, to see the conditionality of things, to be able to see what's happening and see our response to it, our reactivity, and to be able to kind of have this broad view or clear view, this gaze. We see what's happening and watch it arise and pass and come and go without automatically reacting, picking up, pushing away, so that there can be greater capacity for wisdom, for understanding, for kindness and love to operate that can't operate if we respond automatically and triggered and get pushed around by things, get angry or sad or upset or collapse, or we quickly take it personally or use it to define ourselves or want to defend ourselves or feel sorry or whatever we want to do that gets in the way of this broad, open ability to just see and be and not be pushed around by things. And equanimity, upekkha, is kind of like the crown jewel of the the Buddhism. It's kind of like it's a little bit hard to appreciate for people who haven't touched into it. It can sound like indifference, perhaps, but it's actually almost like a very sublime, rich treasure of an emotional state. Almost, it's a whole state of our inner life being allowed to flow and be trusted in a very deep way, without being tipped over by it or pushed around by it or distracted by anything or obsessed by anything. And it's a phenomenally generous state to be equanimous, because things are allowed to manifest and be as they are in the gaze of the equanimity. And this feeling of generosity that's in equanimity, this feeling of love or willingness to be present, is such a needed thing in this world, and such a beautiful thing for ourselves. To have the equanimity to allow things to unfold, especially in meditation. And one of the very inspiring aspects of this Dharma practice that we do is the way in which the Dharma not only lives in us, but we are the Dharma. In the sense that the Dharma is the inner process, the inner movement towards health that leads us to freedom and liberation. There's a momentum, there's a capacity, there's a natural potential for growth within us that we a lot of it just getting out of the way of, so that these processes can unfold and lead us to greater and greater peace, greater and greater wisdom, greater and greater love. So to clear away the hindrances and to recognize the 7 factors of awakening is to begin recognizing the Dharma that's within us. And when those 7 factors become strong, then in a sense we become the Dharma. Or the Dharma becomes us. No difference. So 7 factors of awakening. And the word for equanimity that I would like to offer, I've offered a word for each of the 7 factors. And the word for equanimity is okay. It's okay. That there is a way not to accept, not to condone anything or agree to anything, but there is a kind of, okay, that's how it is, where there's space for things. We can see things before we react. A deep sense of wise, okay. So, mindfulness, to be here. Investigation, to have the question, what? What is this? Effort, with the word this, being present for this. Joy, with the word yes. Tranquility, with the word ease. Concentration, with the word steady. And equanimity, with the wisest possible way of saying, okay, it's okay. And all together, someone here, Tom, wrote cultivation. And I love the word cultivation for describing this practice, because cultivation for me is a botanical gardening term. We cultivate and allow the plants to grow. We cultivate ourselves in this practice, and may the beautiful trees of equanimity within you grow and flower and be a benefit for all beings. Thank you all very much.